Is it okay for a Christian to get a divorce? If you guys are new here, my name is Scott. I'm a certified divorce recovery coach, and I'm also an ordained minister. Let's talk about it. So this is an argument that has been going on for thousands of years, literally thousands of years. Some of you guys are going to be hardliners. No, Jesus said no. You cannot get a divorce unless there is adultery. Completely understand that. But if that was the final word of Jesus Christ, then why did Paul add more to it? Paul added that if there is a non-believer who doesn't want to be with you and they abandon their relationship, then you got to let them go. You see, this argument goes all the way back to the time of Jesus. There were two Jewish schools that were arguing. One was the school of Rabbi Hillel, and one was the school of Rabbi Shammai. And the argument came from Deuteronomy, where it says that if a man finds disfavor or if he finds any kind of uncleanliness in this woman, he could give her a certificate of divorce. So the school of Hillel had the view that you could divorce a woman even if she burns your bread or if you found someone who was more beautiful. And the school of Shammai kind of held their ground that it was pretty much only if there was some kind of sexual something that she had done, some kind of uncleanliness in a sexual manner. But you also have to understand that this conversation about divorce was a political issue, because don't forget that John the Baptist spoke out about Herod and his divorce and his wife and all those things, and he was beheaded for it. So when we see the Pharisees approach Jesus, it says they were there to test him. They were either going to get him caught in a political problem with Herod, or they were trying to get him hemmed up between the two Jewish schools that were arguing. And how did Jesus answer? He said, Moses allowed you to give a certificate of divorce because of your hardness of heart. But he says, in the beginning, this was not so. Do you not realize that in the beginning, there were no stipulations, there were no guidelines for divorce because it was not even supposed to be present? But because we are fallen, rotten creatures, we're going to screw some things up that God designed, correct? And if we look at divorce statistics going back into the 1900s, the divorce rate was only 10%. Now it's over 50%, and that's not even counting the marriages that stay together just for the kids. So realistically, it's more around 76% of all relationship marriage-wise falls apart. But the question remains, can you get a divorce as a Christian? I like where the Bible says, what God brought together, let no man tear apart. But I hold the stance, did God bring you together, or was it because y'all were good in bed together? Did God bring you together, or was it a financial thing? Did God bring you together, or did y'all just get pregnant and make a decision to get married? There's a lot of different reasons that you guys got married, and it's probably true that God was not really in the conversation when y'all were first getting married. God was probably not in the conversation when y'all were dating. So in a perfect world with perfect Christians, no, divorce should not happen. But sadly, we live in a fallen world with fallen people who have drifted so far from God and His truth that a divorce is probably the least of our worries right now. Having said that, I believe that a lot of people do give up too easily. They give up because of pride. They give up because of laziness and complacency. They give up because God is not the center of that relationship by both people. It takes two people. But that doesn't even open up the conversation to other things that were never even spoken of in the Bible. I will always hold the belief that if you are in a marriage with a narcissist who is financially, physically, mentally, emotionally abusing you, you should not be in that marriage. That is toxic. I firmly believe that if you're in a marriage where someone cannot get clean off of drugs, then maybe you need to exit that for a while and work on you and your faith while God works on them. And I especially say that if there are children involved, because children soak in what they see and what they hear. And if you're not very careful, you're going to create generational curses. I have very close friends that are domestic violence survivors, and just by being in the near vicinity of the person who was their abuser, they immediately start shaking because they have post-traumatic stress disorder. So as an ordained minister, I'm not going to be on here with a Bible banging you over the head with it. I'm going to tell you biblical truth. God does not like divorce, but I don't believe that we serve a cookie-cutter God. I believe that God looks at every single situation. He knows the truth, and He knows the pain, and He knows the tears, and He knows the hurt, and all of the neglect, and all the things that you've been going through. And I think He understands if you walk away.